Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Matt, and today we are brewing a Dead Ringer IPA from Northern Brewer. I normally make 3.5 gallon batches, but in this case I'll be brewing a 5 gallon batch. I got my hands on a kit through my dad, who ordered the wrong kit, so I'm going to be brewing this all grain Dead Ringer IPA kit. I also made a few adjustments to the recipe because I thought it would be a little bit more interesting. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into the Beersmith 3 recipe notes, and then we will go right into the brew day.
Get ready.
Now to go over the recipe in Beersmith 3, I got my hands on a Dead Ringer IPA kit from Northern Brewer, and I wanted to also make a few changes just because I thought it would be a little fun. So the recipe is pretty much what they give you, and I did add the Munich malt, so I added 1 pound of Munich malt, which should give me a little bit of a deep malty flavor I thought would complement the style well. I also added some acid malt to this to adjust for my water chemistry. We also added some mosaic. The mosaic hops will add a fruit, citrus, mango, floral flavor, which I thought would be good as well. A little less boring than just adding Centennial through the whole batch. And then for the yeast, we opted for Independence from Imperial yeast. Independence is really great for hop-driven beers, and it will also add some fruit character. I've never used Independence from Imperial before, so I wanted to give this a try. For the starter information, it says it needs around 234 billion yeast cells, and the Independence from Imperial yeast has 200 billion cells, so we opted not to do a yeast starter for this. For the water profile, it's going to be a higher sulfate to chloride ratio since this is an American IPA. Now we're going to jump into the brew day. First, we measured out 6.3 grams of gypsum, 3.2 grams of Epsom salt, 2.5 grams of calcium carbonate, 2.4 grams of calcium chloride, and 0.9 grams of canning salt. Next, we mill our grains to a fine crush. After milling, we dough in. After 10 minutes into the mash, we take a sample and cool it down for a pH reading. We hit our 5.2, which means our acid malt addition was accurate. After a 50-minute mash and a 10-minute mash shot, we press our grains to get as much wort out as we can. We take a pre-boil gravity reading and it measures out to around 1055, which is off by only 3 points, so we opt out to adjust with any DME. Once we are at boiling, we add 0.75 ounces of Centennial. With 20 minutes left, we add 1 ounce of mosaic, and we also add some Irish moss and yeast nutrient. With 5 minutes left, we add 2 ounces of Centennial. With about 1 minute left, we run boiling wort through the pumps, line, and chillers to sanitize the equipment. Then we turn on the cold water to start rapidly chilling the wort. Our final gravity measures out to around 1062, which is around 3 points under target, which was expected. After we move the beer into the fermenter, we aerate with a stir stick drill attachment and pitch our Independence. A few days into fermentation, I was surprised to see that we had a very vigorous fermentation and we had some foam blow off in the airlock. I went ahead and cleaned this up. With only 3 days left of fermentation, I added 2 ounces of Centennial. We purge our keg with Star San and CO2, and then we move the beer over with a low oxygen transfer method. Our final gravity measures out to around 1014, and our target was 1016. Our ABV is around 6.3%. Alright, so we're at the end of the video here where I talk about brew day notes, and then I also talk about the aroma, mouthfeel, flavor, and appearance of the beer. So a few brew day notes I want to mention before we go into the fun stuff. So for the recipe, I actually got this recipe from a family friend. So I didn't actually buy this recipe kit, which was really cool to get some free beer. I also found it a more of a reason to modify it since I didn't really pay for the ingredients. So I bought some additional ingredients along with this beer to hopefully spice it up. I've brewed this beer probably 3 times in the past for myself, but my family brews this beer quite a bit. I've definitely had my fair share of Dead Ringer from Northern Brewer in the past, so it's even more of a reason to change it up because, like I said, I've had a lot of it in the past. I want to mention that this is the first time I've used acid malt, which is, I feel like kind of weird because I've been brewing for so long, I just never really tried it. I've just kind of relied on phosphoric acid and lactic acid for my acid additions, but I wanted to try acid malt this time and it worked out pretty good. I think I'm going to use it next time and see how it goes. I think I targeted for like 5.3, and I think I ended up hitting like at 5.2, which is still acceptable for mash pH, but I think it overshot by just a little bit. I don't know if it's how I double crushed it or what, so I think I'm just going to use maybe a little bit less next time for what Beersmith 3 tells me to add, so I'll just tweak it back a little bit. And also the last thing I want to mention is I typically do 3.5 gallon batches. This is a 5 gallon batch, and that's just because the recipe kit comes in a 5 gallon batch. So we have 5 gallons of this, which honestly isn't a big deal. I haven't had an American IPA on tap in a very long time, so it's kind of refreshing to have this on tap like I had in the past. So yeah, that really about concludes the brew day notes. We can go into appearance, aroma, mouthfeel, and flavor next. For the appearance, I don't know if you can tell, but it is fairly cloudy. It has cleared up in the last week or so. I've had this. I put this on tap probably about 2 weeks ago, and like I said, it has cleared up a little bit. It definitely has like an orangish, reddish kind of hue to it. Orangish yellowish, I would say, probably leaning towards more of the orange color. And the head is an off-white head that lingers for quite a while, which is kind of pleasant to see. For the aroma, I would say it's definitely like a citrusy, floral note you pick up. Pine fruitiness is another way I would describe it, but all of the aromas is pretty much what you'd expect from the Centennial and the Mosaic editions, and also independence from Imperial yeast also contributed probably to those citrus notes as well. Next is the mouthfeel. I would describe it as like a medium to medium light body, and it definitely does have like this alcohol warming note at the end of the aftertaste. I'm not sure why. It's only like 6.3%, so it's not like overly strong or anything. But you can definitely taste this alcohol note at the end. I'm wondering if that's just because of the style, the American IPA. Maybe it's because of the sulfates, the chloride, or maybe accentuating that flavor. I'm not sure, but you can definitely pick up an alcohol warmth at the end of the aftertaste. Lastly is the flavor. So when you first try it, citrus notes are the most prominent, followed by like a floral and a pine kind of note to it. Again, not too surprising considering the hops we used. But yeah, I'd say the citrus and the pine are the most pronounced of the initial flavors. I would say it has like a medium to medium high bitterness. I think it ended up at around 65-ish IBUs, and the sulfate to chloride ratio was almost 3-to-1. So it's definitely dry in that aspect as well. And for the caramel flavors, we added caramel 40 to this. The caramel's kind of subtle in this beer, but you can definitely still kind of taste the caramel in this a little bit. But really, it's like mostly citrus and bitter. If I had to narrow it down, it's like citrus and bitter. It's pretty much how I describe the flavor. So that about covers it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. Make sure to like the video and comment down in the comment section below if you have anything to add, or if you'd like to talk about Northern Brewers kits. I've brewed a lot of their kits in the past, and I think they've all come out pretty great. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.